Hey everyone, Livy here, back with another video, and today I am finally doing a walkthrough of one of the decks that I said I would kind of do a walkthrough of and have been putting off. This is the Tarts Tarot. This is a deck by a Polish creator, and you can find it on Etsy. Now, originally when I got the deck, it came in this kind of silly box, as you can see here, but this is completely made out of paper. This is not practical to keep a deck in. Just, I don't know, it's not. So instead, I bought a cute Kelly Bear pouch to house it in. This is its new home. And let me show you guys what this deck is all about. So this deck originally caught my eye because somebody on, who was it? Somebody on Instagram had this deck. I think it was Tarot Tidbits, but I don't really remember. It might have been them though, for sure. But they kept like showing this deck for a while, and it kept fascinating me in a way that I just could not explain. And so I kept getting drawn to it. And when I saw that the deck was on sale, I think it had a little bit of a sale, not like a big one, I was able to get a hold of this deck. So these are the backs, as you can see. Simple. It's, I don't know if you can tell in this lighting because, sorry, I'm in California in a time where it's actually like rainy for once. So it's kind of weird, but yeah. This is like a purple, like a lavenderish color. And for those wondering about this cardstock, it's interesting. It's very, as you guys can see, it's very, I don't know if you guys can tell actually. It's very thin. It almost feels papery, like, but at the same time, it has a smoothness. So it's actually kind of nice. I do kind of like it. Now, for the purpose of this walkthrough, I actually put this deck all in order. But this deck did not come in order. So even when I bought it, all the cards were like scrambled up. Even like all the majors, all the minors, everything was just scrambled together, which is very chaotic, but also like very true to this deck's energy, I feel like. So it made sense. But today, we are going to go and walk through these cards so that if you are interested in this deck and you want my chatty thoughts, opinions, otherwise, you're going to get it. Now, let me see how best. I don't want to completely fuck this up, so let me see. Yeah, looks like the quality's still okay. I'm just checking. I wanted to zoom this in a little bit so you guys can see. So we start, of course, like every deck, we start with the Fool. And this Fool is very cute, very pretty. More traditional in the sense of idea of what a Fool is. As you can see, they kind of have like a court jester outfit. Oh, for those who also want to know, so this deck is very interesting because it's very fantastical, almost like story feel to it. But it's also kind of chaotic and it pulls from a lot of different realms, and everything is going to be a little different. So as you can see, this is our Fool, but the Magician, right? It looks completely different in color tones. So that's what you're getting with this deck. It is not like, if you're somebody who does not like kind of chaotically organized things, this is not going to be for you, but I'm a fan of color, so this is definitely for me. This is our Fool. As you can see, very traditional looking in depiction, although it is, as you can see, it's like goblin-like, which is pretty cool too. And I'm obsessed with the colors of this Fool. This is very, it's funny because this feels very much like the Fool also because these colors remind me of the Dawn, which is New Beginnings, and it works for this deck. So this is our Fool. Then we have this Magician, which is such a boss. This Magician is so cool. What I like is that even though it shows the infinity symbol, you guys can see it, it's right there. What I like about this Fool in particular is that it is mysterious and otherworldly, and you can tell they're powerful just by looking at them. And you can also see all the elements in here. I don't necessarily need as above, so below, although you could claim that the book is the below. Its hand is up, and it's holding the wand that's facing down. So it has a wand. There's a sword. There's a goblet here, the cup. Even some fire is represented. I did notice this is the symbol for, what is that? Is that, I think that's Mars and Venus, correct? They're both actually in this. And then, of course, there's the pentacle right there. So this is our magician, and he is a badass. I really like him. This is how you know they're also like confident. They're looking straight forward. Their eyes are shining. It's just a really cool magician. Now, I find this high priestess really cool and kind of creepy, but really cool. I like this high priestess because it's there's not like the typical pillars on this. The two people are the pillars. And interestingly, you have a person that's kind of like a merfolk over here. And then somebody that you could say is a Desian of the sky. They look like a harpy to me because of their legs. And this is obviously, though, you have no doubts in your mind that this figure who's cloaked is that high priestess, especially because, of course, you can see the eye above their forehead. This is a really cool, interesting trope in fantasy, too. I also noticed that I think these two are bound together by either rope or chain. It kind of reminds me vaguely of the devil card, too, which is kind of interesting to think of the high priestess, is that to have your third eye looking inward, right, you have to be into some kind of spooky stuff at times. So this is a really cool high priestess. Now, this empress is kind of fascinating to me. Not pregnant, so that's always a plus for me. I don't care for the pregnant empress, okay? What I find really cool about her is that there's some interesting elements in here. First off, this empress, right, is definitely very feminine. So definitely playing up the feminine side of things with this empress. She's also human. Most of these figures have not been so far. And she's got some interesting things that show like her character. For instance, the sword here at her feet, it could have been somebody else's sword, but it's a sign that at any minute she could kick her feet up, grab that sword and get you, right? So she can be sharp with her words, but she chooses the pen instead, right? There's the feather pen. To say more thoughts with words instead of actions. So it's a really cool, interesting depth of the Empress. It also just shows her like flirtatious side, her sensual side, the fan, that was used a lot by ladies of the past. She kind of vaguely reminds me of like if Marie Antoinette was allowed to be more sultry. She kind of gives off those vibes. Really cool Empress. So, and yeah, like I said, I find it interesting that so far she's the only human I've seen in this deck. So really, really interesting, but really cool. And then we have the Emperor, and he is very interesting. I don't know what the hell he's supposed to be. He's, like, I don't know what this is, but he has like antlers. He has 3 eyes, which I find really fascinating. Here, I'll put it a little closer, you guys can see. He has 3 eyes, so that means that his third eye at least is open, and he is aware and intuitive. His crown hangs above. He's even got some wings, fancy cape, but interestingly, right, no throne. He's not seated, and he's actually on like a rainbow setup here. So he's very groovy. He's like definitely the most groovy emperor I've ever seen. He gives off very eccentric vibes. This is very different than some emperors I've seen where they kind of, even though the card is supposed to be active, a lot of emperors I see are not actually because they're sitting down, right? But he is standing up and he is ready to face problems. He seems very gung-ho too, eccentric, somebody that is in leadership power, but sometimes you wonder why. He's giving off those vibes. So I really like this emperor. He's really cool. And then I find this one really fascinating. So this is our Hierophant, okay? It's another merfolk person. The legs are actually split, and he's doing like the meditation pose. But at the same time, it looks like his hair is growing up to be these plants. So maybe it's in some kind of like marsh situation is what it looks like. And what I really like about this Hierophant is that they are below getting their energy. They are below tuning into the universe, gaining their knowledge. and only letting a part of that seep out. It's like choosing what's important and not. But this is a really cool Hierophant. And it definitely has a lot you could say too about like how this Hierophant spreads their knowledge with the world. It's really cool. I really dig this one. Now this is a more typical depiction kind of the lovers. A lot of people like to put them in a charismatic embrace. What I do find really cool about them, though, is, well, first off, all these stars that are around them, there's constellations and stuff showing that it was fated for these two to meet, right? What's also really cool is that they are slightly different. This, the guy, I don't know if you guys can see very well, but he's wearing basically like a motorcycle like gear. So he's like a tough guy, but he also has pointed ears. So that means that he could be like a goblin or an elf of some kind. Pointed shoes, really cool style. Whereas she's another harpy-like person. She's got like her claws, she's got her wings. And despite them being from two different worlds, they make sense. They're two halves of the whole. They're really cute. Very unexpected, but different. I like them for the lovers. And this is why this deck is very quirky. As you can see, it is fantasy. This is a chariot. But as you can see, they are on a skateboard. And it's so funny. They're both look like elf, goblin-like creatures. They're going through this jungle. What I really like about this chariot too, though, is because of the skateboard, there's a lot of interesting things you can say about this card. It definitely shows like how chaotic of a nature sometimes being at the helm of a chariot can be. One minute you can be speeding okay down the hill. The next you could be falling off that board and falling and really, really, really hurting yourself, right? Or it's just like having to swerve in and out of the way. That's sometimes what it feels like when the chariot pops up. So it's really fascinating that they are together. There's some team. They're trying to work and balance. And this guy has like super strength to be able to balance what, if you didn't notice, I'm pretty sure that's the Fool from the first card. So going along on their journey, but it's really interesting. Yeah, this is a chariot. By the way, if you haven't noticed, this deck, yes, not only are they different colors, but this deck does not give a shit about being perfect. You'll notice that there's like little imperfections here and there where you can tell the creator just like literally drew that on and just didn't care. Same here, right? They're not the same edges. You can tell they're not the same edges. But I like that about this deck. I like that it feels very homey and organic. I don't care that it's not like perfect, you know. So just wanted to make a note of that for those who are wondering. It's definitely a different art style too, as you can tell. Some parts look more faded, some are sharper. It's just different, but it's really, really cool. So I personally dig it. Okay. Moving on, we have Justice. And this is such an interesting Justice. I did not know what to think of this card. And when I first saw it, and I'm still like kind of puzzling through this. But this is such an interesting Justice because they're on a stage of some kind, clearly. Then you have the little rat dude. But then you have this humanoid rat person also here. And you can't tell if she's like... if, you know, she's passing judgment on him or if he's passing judgment on her, and if they have to balance in between. But yeah, you can tell there's like a stage. Something's going on here, but who needs to get justice is the question. It's kind of an interesting one. I don't know, really. I'm still actually sitting with this card. I'm trying to decipher what this Justice has to say, but it's still really beautifully drawn. So, yeah. Now, finally, okay, this Hermit. My God. Okay, guys, you know I love the Hermit card. But this Hermit makes me feel things very deeply. This could potentially be up there in one of my favorite Hermits, is that this Hermit is kind of sad looking and sitting on top of a hill. You can see the beautiful house below with the smoke rising out of it, so they're getting comfort. They're the ones who are like hiding in, and it looks like there could have been a storm or something going on in the background. But she's the figure, I'm just going to say she, is the figure that is far away from the hideaway, from the sanctuary, right? Maybe there's a part of her that wishes she could be with them, but knows she needs to stand on her own. It's very interesting, but I really like this hermit. Okay. Then, now, I will say this wheel is a little hard. So this one could have had probably some better line art, but this is the Wheel of Fortune. The Emperor's here again, being groovy. There's also this figure. You guys will see, but this figure, I'm pretty sure, is the Devil in the Devil card. And, they're in the wild and the wheel is turning. And what I like about this wheel, by the way, is that it's not the typical esoteric symbols. You are actually seeing the path of the sun and the moon. So you see the moon phases on there, and then you see the sun phases down there. It's really, really cool, but it still shows that it's cyclical in nature. And then I just like the touch of the stars, that they look like they could also be pentacles. It's really, really cool. And again, I do like that there's reoccurring figures of things. So the Emperor and the Devil. Interesting the way you could say about that too, but this is a cool wheel. Now this, oh, I love the strength. I like that it's just not, it's not the typical lion and the maiden, right? This is our little fool with a dragon, and they're sleeping together. And that's a strength too, is like sometimes to become strong again, you need to rest. But also like the boldness of that, because did this fool just decide to sleep with the dragon and didn't even know it? Or did the dragon actually let them? Like, what happens when this dragon wakes up? Will it grab the fool? If it's not familiar with them, you know what I mean? It's a really cool card to think about on that concept of what is it doing, So, strength. And this hangman is pretty cool too. Very daring, as you can see. They're at the mouth of a cave. And they're like a sun person, which is interesting. This definitely shows some of the charismatic nature of the hangman, though, in that they are hanging upside down, carefree, kind of, to gain their knowledge or to gain something. But, yeah, at any point in time, that rope can snap and then they'd be dust, right? But they don't seem to care. It's really cool, though. I like the colors also. Now, this death is interesting. It shows a figure that's already like dead, but kind of alive. It looks like the rat, actually, from the Justice card, now that I think about it. Maybe it did get its justice passed and moved on. But then you have this like pearl, mother of pearl there, which is kind of cool. And this figure that's holding the rat. Are they the one that deals in death? Are they the one who killed the rat, but the rat came back? But then what's with the pearl? It's really interesting. Maybe it's still showing the cycle of all things. So I don't know. But it's a cool one. It's different. It's very different. Now this card got me. This card reminds me of a book, one of the books series I own. So when I do that video, which should hopefully come out around the same time as this video, when I do the video where I talk about books, recommending books based on tarot decks, that book is going to pop up. But this card reminded me of that. It's very fantasy. Oops, excuse me, burping here. Fantastical. I like that this figure is crying into the cup for temperance, right? Letting go of the emotions, but someone's holding them out. It looks like I thought it was almost a satyr, but it's not quite a satyr because it has bat wings. So it's a really interesting cherub, pseudo cherub figure. And this figure also is like grown with the wild. They're almost like a tree, but it's like a person face. Really, really fascinating. It's just very fantastical, but I like what this temperance evokes, right? And the color is just stunning. And like I said, this is our devil. Yeah, she was on the wheel. And she's kind of cool, kind of flirty. Very just traditional devil figure, though. There's not like too much other depths you can say, although her pose can maybe show that she's kind of someone might regret some of her bold choices and outfit choices and other things. Who knows? But devil. Now this is very cool, this tower. I kind of like that they're not falling to these death. These people that left the tower left in time. But the tower is busted. It's gone. Right? It's still fallen. Everything is still kind of lost. Whatever home and happiness they had is gone. You have to start over. And this tower still shows that. I like, though, that it looks very fantastical. And then we have the star. And the star is very interesting. As you can see, both of its feet are almost in the water, but not. This figure, which, by the way, looks like the Empress to me, is pouring the water into it, but, you know, it's not the usual balance. And this looks like, of course, it is a shooting star. There's still some hopes there, but I also like that this figure, I don't know if you guys notice, if it is the Empress, right, she's very kind of downcast looking here. So she's pouring the water out, but, you know, it's kind of reflective and thinking, well, I hope things can be better. Look at, there's a shooting star in the sky, you know. So that's our star. And then we have the moon. This is just a very dreamy moon. I really like it, though. And I also, oops, I don't know if you guys can see that figure? It's very tiny. I can't tell if that's supposed to be the devil again or who that is. It's very, very, very tiny. I don't know. But anything is possible. And I also like that they're on a boat journeying through, because that's a lot of times what the moon is all about. It's mystery and otherworldly depths, and you just don't know what you're going to find on the journey. So this is a really cool moon, in my opinion. I mean, this whole deck is very cool, but yeah. And then we have the sun. So we have the hangman is here in the sun card. It's interesting that part of the sun has sunk under the water. Like you could see part of a reflection, but then the sun is there. Then there's, of course, a horse, but there's no, thank God, no naked baby on the horse. I can't tell if that's one of the lovers or if that's maybe the devil again has popped up on the horse. But yeah, the hangman's just chilling. They're just all having, I guess, a good time hanging out in this world. The sun. Okay. Judgment. I kind of like that the fool and what looks to be maybe one of the figures that was in the high priestess or was hanging out in the hermit, they're just chilling. And what's funny is the world is literally burning down around them. Like there's a comet and there's a volcano erupting and the waters are getting turbulent, but they're just hanging out and seeing what's going to happen on Doomsday. It's so funny, but I really like it at the same time. Oh man. And then finally, the world. This is a super cool world. I like that it's like, it's showing you a chunk of the world, but it's like literally the world that they were just having all these cards on. It's very, very fantastical. And again, this reminds me of a book series I own. So when I talk about that, you guys will be seeing this deck pop up. But yeah, really, really cool stuff. This is the world. Now that we're going to move on into the minors, I need to say now that this deck is a pip deck. Now, you guys know I'm not usually a fan of pip decks, but I would like to argue the case that this is a pip deck with feelings, okay? I am going to go in depth when I want to talk about certain depictions here that I think have more meaning than they can immediately look to others. So, also, just so you know, we're in the minors, and each of the minors actually is color-coded. So all of the cups are this blue border look. All the pentacles are in green. The swords are this like trippy purple that looks like it was like, what's that term called when you do the inverse of things? And then all of the wands are like this like yellow pink situation. So just so you know what we're getting into here. These are the most organized. These were not as much. But this is the Ace of Cups. And it's like your morning cup of coffee, basically. You're starting off the day. You're hoping for great things. I mean, maybe it's not coffee for you. Maybe it's tea. But whatever you drink in the morning to help you get going along and have a good time. So I like this. This is the Two of Cups. I kind of like that it's a transfer, like, because these are supposed to be together, but like this person maybe finished off their drink and decided to pour it all into the other cup. Just showing that they're working together to be the full thing. I like it. Simple, but again, see, this is what I'm talking about. Sometimes people would see these 3 cups and think, oh, this is so boring. Like, how could that be the 3 of Cups? But it makes sense. Each of these cups is a teacup, and they're each different. They each have their tea in them, and they're buddies. You can, without seeing the 3 people who would be drinking this, you know they're friends getting together for tea to discuss and be happy and to just have a good time together. That's what I like about this. It's very simple, but it gets the point across. These are 3 friends coming together for tea. I like it. And this even, right, 4 of Cups, you would think, oh no, like this is boring, it's just 4 cups. Well, no, you can see that some of these cups are spilled. And it's almost like the phrase, don't cry over spilled milk. It's very much this, is like people who are in a 4-cup situation a lot of times are pouting, basically. They're just frustrated with a lot of things, and they're getting kind of emotional, and they cry too much over the spilled milk. So again, you don't have to see the other things to get that from this card. And the same with this one. This is the 5 of Cups. And as you can see, people were trying to have a party, but somebody's glass fucking broke. Somebody else's are like poured out. You could tell that there was conflicts at this party. Someone probably was crying somewhere. You know what I mean? Like drunkenly crying. You get that vibe from this without those people being there. But some people are still chugging along. So it's that idea of, yeah, it might be emotional right now, but it'll get better with time. So 5 of Cups. This is the only cup I think that to me has the least emotion in it. Like, it's not necessarily a pip with feeling for me, because you just see these cups spinning and spinning and spinning. Unless you can say it's the nostalgia of them like always having to drink their cup and thinking of other times and other days, but that would be a stretch. I don't know. This is the most pippish of them. So this is the 6 cups. I like this 7 because it still presents choice, right? You could have any of these drinks, or even not even a drink. This is like literally freaking ice cream. And you got to pick one. What are you picking? What choice are you having? What's your mood for the day? You know? This is still choice, presented in a very simple way, but I like it. 7 of Cups. Eight of Cups. This also seems kind of more pippish. I don't see, unless you can say these are all the cups that were left behind. Maybe a group were together and they were hanging out, but someone said, fuck this, and they left. And then everyone else just kind of left, and they left their cups behind. I guess you could say that was that, but again, could be kind of a stretch for this one too. Now this one makes sense though. This is the 9 of Cups. Everything is great. Everything is awesome. They all have cute little cups. They're all together and happy and having a good time and drinking and being merry. This kind of reminds me of like people who would be having drinks at a sleepover. Like maybe they're having hot cocoa together or something and they're just having a good time. That's the vibe I got from this card. Whereas in the 10, where you know everything's for sure awesome, but they're all having like cocktails and different stuff. So they're clearly celebrating. They're having a good time. Everything is great. Maybe they came to a milestone. And that's when they said, drinks on me. And they all went out, you know. So 10 of cups there for that. And now we have the aces. Now, interestingly, I mean, not aces, sorry, the core cards. Interestingly, the core cards do seem to follow a little bit of a theme going, but we'll see. As you can see, this is the figure that was in the Temperance. They are now the Page. They're tipping out water on what looks to be, to me, like a Kelpie or, yeah, I think a Kelpie. It doesn't have a horn, so it's not a unicorn. Tipping out the water. Pretty. You can see that they're kind of like innocent and interesting of a figure, so you get those vibes. This Knight of Cups. Oh man, this is the figure that was in the Hermit card. They're in somebody's house and they got water thrown on them. It's kind of funny. I don't know. It's like, because usually the Knight of Cups, as you guys know, they're supposed to be very charismatic, very romantic, and you don't really get this vibe from this figure, especially their really long arms and fingers. They're kind of a weird figure, but they're kind of like charismatic in their own way. They're just very silly about it, I think. I don't know. It's interesting though. And then you get the Queen of Cups, which makes sense that they would be this merfolk first person. Like, very on par with the Queen. I feel like the Queen's always like a mermaid for some reason. The depth of knowledge, the interesting bits, the sea associations. You know, pretty accurate. And then you get, of course, the Emperor again is now the King of Cups. And there's more details to unfold. For instance, they gained a new eye. So they have even more knowledge. In this case, knowledge of emotions and who they are. And being wise, man. It kind of like gives those vibes. I really like it. The King of Cups and Emperor in some ways makes a lot of sense. Having to learn how to balance your emotions. Really cool. I just like how pretty it is too. And now we're going into the Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles, they're the star of the show. They just did a great job. Now what? you know what I mean? Like, you got your ribbon. Good job. Keep trying now, you know. Ace. I like this too. Two of Pentacles. It's bike tires. This makes a whole lot of sense to me as somebody who doesn't know how to ride a bike. I don't. I hate bikes actually. But I like this because it's really hard. It's really hard to know how to ride a bike if you don't know how to ride a bike. You know what I mean? Like learning how to balance your priorities. Oh my God. If you're not careful, yeah, your bike will fall over and you're fucked. Like, very simple but easy illustration to get. Again, Two of Pentacles. I also like this 3 because it's showing teamwork in a different way. Maybe they were all runners in a race and they all, you know, they got their place. Which is not usually something you would say. Like usually that means everyone would be working on their own. But maybe it was a relay race. Who knows? But it still shows teamwork in some way. I like it. And I also, okay, this to me is a really cool 4 of Pentacles. Most people might not see that, but the way, so 4 of Pentacles, right? We usually know 4 of Pentacles is shown as someone who's being a miser. What I like about this card is that it is showing the need to stockpile in a different way. This person is cutting out segments of apple, foraging for mushrooms, getting your citrus and other fruits together, slicing them thin, maybe drying them out to keep for the incoming season, right? It's showing you stockpiling in a different way. You need to save up so that you do not go hungry in the winter. You know, this is the vibe that this card immediately gave me. So again, it has a lot more depth than it seems. Which is why I say this is not just your normal pip deck. And what's interesting, though, is that you have this 5 of Pentacles, which you almost would think would have been the 6, right? You see all these symbols. And the way I interpreted this is that, you know how the 5 of Pentacles is usually about being left out in the cold? Well, the immediate thought I got with these coins is that someone threw them a bunch of coins, but none of these are the coins that you actually fucking need to get a meal. These are all from like different countries and places. So you're just like, what the shit? I can't do anything with this. And you're poor and left out and you can't gain resources. None of these are what you need. And that's really interesting of an interpretation, but it's really cool in some ways. Very different from the traditional 5. Then we have the 6. I really like this 6 because it's sharing is caring in a different way. It's showing people who are clearly having like a breakfast together and they're sharing different parts of said breakfast spread. Like some of them have croissants, some of them have toast, someone's taking a bite out of their cinnamon roll. You're sharing your time and your energy with others, your meal. And that's nice. I like this depiction of the 6 a lot, okay? This is a good one. This one too. Ooh, this got me. So this is a 7 of Pentacles. And as you can see, these are tablets of some kind. You don't know what they are. Are they birth control? Are they some kind of pills to make you happier? Are they like, what are they? Are they medication that you need? Either way, you need to start taking these to plant those seeds to better yourself, right? You have to take your medication. And that is such a different 7 of Pentacles, but so profound, especially because so many people have different kinds of medications and things you need. This is your reminder that you're doing this so that you can be better. It kind of gets you right in the fucking gut, doesn't it? Oh, this is what I mean. This deck is oddly profound, like really, really, really profound. Now, this 8 of Pentacles is interesting because it's not showing your typical handyman. This is showing the gardener who worked so hard that all of their flowers have already bloomed. You know what I mean? Very different version of the 8. But I still like it at the same time. It shows that hard work had to be put in to make the garden beautiful. And this is interesting. So this is a 9 of Pentacles. And as you can see, there are just a bunch of rings. This one is probably the most pippish out of all of them. I don't have a hard time saying, like, look at how well you've done because now you have all these rings. I don't know. Unless it's a nod to wealth. It could very much be, like, you're so well off now that you have, like, so many options and choices and such. But kind of a stretch for this. Ooh, excuse me, for this one. Wow, why am I hiccuping so much? And then finally, the 10 of Pentacles. Really interesting that are just a bunch of buttons, but what I got from this is that these pentacles, this is your legacy. You've collected a lot of ephemera and things along the way. Maybe you're somebody who sews. You know who this kind of reminds me of? I don't know if she's going to watch this video, but Chanel, A Spirited Stardust. Every time she does like her crochet bags, they're like all these cool funky buttons like that. It's kind of like your legacy, you know? You're just, you're making things, you're collecting things, and they each have their own story, and that's pretty cool. So, yeah, I don't know. That's so random, but that's what I got from this. And then, as you can see, this is really cool. The Page of Pentacles is our hangman figure again, the sunflower child. And they're just, you know, rocking out with their banjo. They're the student learning their craft and growing with the flowers and doing, you know, doing that kind of stuff. That's kind of cool. I like it. It's a different kind of student of the world. And yeah, I don't know. It's cool. And this Knight of Pentacles is really interesting. This is the figure, I think, was this one of the figures that was in the Justice card? It might have been. But they're, what I find cool about them is that, as you can see, they're holding like a bow and, oh wait, no. Yes, they're holding a bow and 2 arrows in their hand. And they're kind of like meditating. It's the hard work there that needs to pay off. Like, to get whatever you're going to get, you need to make sure your mind is clear and your path is ready. So, interesting. This Queen of Pentacles is so fucking cool too, though. I really like her. She is, you know, your typical hedge witch. growing, you know, like putting up the sprigs and all that, collecting what she's collecting. Really good boss, Queen of Pentacles energy, like straight up, just, you know, yeah, she knows what she's doing. She's the boss, man. So really good, really good. I really like this queen. And then, interestingly, you have the figure from the Temperance card. They are our King of Pentacles, and you can kind of tell they've been one with the earth for a while. So, they know how to grow and how to be, you know, the king of the forest. Really, really cool. Now we're going into the swords. The swords yeah, some of the swords are more pippish. I don't think some of them have as much depth as I saw in the pentacles, or what you will see also even in some of the wands, but we're going to show these off anyways, of course. We're going to keep going at this. This is the Ace of Swords. Very cool looking sword. And this sword is definitely ready to cut through the bullshit. That's what I always think of with the Ace of Swords. Cutting through the bullshit, getting to the root of the matter. They're ready to fight. Whereas this person has katanas literally at their neck, right? I mean, there's no person, but you can see their cross. So they're in conflict. Or two people. You could even see it as two people meeting blades, right? A conflict in that way. Stalemate. You see it loosely, but it's still there, right? Their blades are crossed. That's the important part. And this is interesting to me as the Three of Swords. You don't get the typical heart, which some people, I guess, would appreciate. They don't like the heart being stabbed through with the swords. But this still shows that there is drama afoot, because each person has a different knife that they took to the knife fight, basically. And somebody is going to get cut, right? Either way, someone is going to be fucked up because you have a bunch of knives at each other's throats. So, Three of Swords. I find this interesting. This seems more pippish, but the swords are at rest. So someone stopped their fighting long enough to put the blades down and walk away, you know? That's what it looks like to me, basically. The Five of Swords, you can tell that someone still came out victorious. One's okay. The rest kind of, I don't know, just based on placement, you can tell that they, like, some of them came out successful. The others did not. There could have only been one winner, but, you know, it is what it is. This one is probably, this one and the 7. So this is the 6. This is the 7. They honestly seem more pippish to me. Again, they're not really... these are definitely some of the most pippy cards in the whole deck. I don't really see walking away from this one. And I don't really see some of the trickery alluded in this one. Although, if you talk about the types of swords, those are all swords like... I mean, these are rapiers, of course. And rapiers remind me of the Three Musketeers. There's some silliness and nonsense there, but that's like still a far stretch, so I don't know. Even with this 8, it's kind of like that too. Like, you can tell maybe that like one of them is being held at knife point. Not sure if they can get out, but they're just more... These are the most pippy. Like I said, the swords were kind of like that. Same with the 9. So many different blades, and some of them caught somebody, right? Some of them are going in this pattern to stab through. Kind of anxiety inducing. You don't know which one's going to hit. And then you do, I guess, with this 10, get the sense that somebody was ringed in and, you know, got a bad time, but it's very pippy. So as you can see, the swords were probably the most pippy in this whole deck. Let's look at the page. This is one of those harpy-like figures. Knife at the ready. I mean, sword at the ready. They're ready to be sharp with their words. If they need to be. I do find it interesting that the chariot figure, though, is the Knight of Swords. They could be somebody who's very much against authority, being like, whatever, man, you know, that kind of thing. Bart Simpson-like. Going about ready to stab when they need to, and otherwise just keep doing what they're doing, you know. But I really like the colors of this one. This is like a cool knight to me. And then we have our Empress again. She is also the Queen of Swords. And this makes sense if we look back at the Empress card, because she had the sword at her feet. And this time she's wielding them. She's also gained more knowledge. Her eyes are more open now. And even her face is more severe. You can get the sense that she's learned and she is not fucking around. So that's kind of her vibe. And interestingly, our little rat friend from the beginning is now the King of Swords. He's probably had to learn a couple of lessons. And now look at where he's at. He knows how to get by and how to survive and how to be diplomatic. And yeah, he got there. I really like the colors of this one too. I don't know why. He's funny. And finally, we are in our last suit, guys. Oh my goodness, this walkthrough has been so long, but I wanted to, for those of you who are really might be considering this deck, I wanted to show this off and explain my reasonings of why I think you should get this deck by explaining how I see these decks as pips with feelings. So that's why it's taking as long as it has. But let's move on. This is the Ace of Wands. Very cute. It's magical. You get the point and cross of like creativity, potential, your energy, your own personal magic. Anything is possible here. I like this Two of Wands because they have to balance themselves and how they're like feeling up. And I also kind of like this because this makes me think about people who don't know how to use chopsticks and are trying to learn how to use them so they can eat their ramen. You know, it's like, it gives me those kind of vibes. Like, how do you plan out your next steps here? This one, I'll be honest, I don't understand this Three of Wands as much though. I don't see how it's going on a journey. I don't know why they're bones, really. This one's kind of pippy to me, kind of a disappointment. I do like the Three of Wands, but it's just random. It is what it is. This Four of Wands is funny though. It looks like people who, there is a marriage. You know when you get like married, I guess they say this. I don't know. I'm not married. But they say that when you get married, you know, you get your toothbrushes in order. You're all together. They all live in the same stand together. You're learning how to be together. This is what this reminded me of right off the bat. And this Five of Wands definitely showing like the fix-it attitude, like people having to cross tools together to try to solve something that maybe went wrong, is what this gives me the idea of. Now this Six of Wands is cool. I think this is an artist for sure who has come out victorious after trying to use so many different tools to come up with their project. They finally managed something, and that's why they're victorious. And I really like this Seven of Wands because they're all, you can get the sense that they've been like fighting, but it's like a wizard's duel. So I really kind of like that. They're all like different wands. Very, very cool in my opinion. And this Eight of Wands is interesting because instead of showing the typical boring positioning of them, the match has been lit and now you bitches better run. You know what I mean? That's what it like shows to me. Some of these have already even been burnt out already. And so it's like going before the fire goes out. Really cool. This Nine of Wands is interesting too. You get the sense that whoever owned this garden had to put a lot of hard work in, and some of these carrots are rougher around the edges, like especially this one. It just shows that, you know, things have been happening to this poor carrot. So, you know, it's a lot of hard work to garden. That's what I got out of this. That's how I see the perseverance, like trying to do better to make better product. And this Ten of Wands, it is a bunch of pencils. And the first thing I thought of was the writer's process. Even if you come to the end of one journey, you need to keep writing and chugging along, basically, right? The process is never over. If you finish, then you edit. And then when you edit, you still have to get other eyes on it and go back to it and go back to it and go back to it. this is what this is showing. Very vaguely, but it is, in my opinion. And finally, we have our quartz for the wands. We have the Magician now is the Page of Wands, which is kind of interesting to me. I kind of like that it is. It almost gives Hermit vibes too because it has the lantern there. But this wand is ready to learn more and go out into the world and try. So I like it. And our Fool, I kind of like it. They graduated. They have wings now. And they are the Knight of Wands of all things. They have become a master magician. And they know who they are. And they're ready to, you know, go about the world doing magic and other cool things. I really like this. And our Devil has even graduated to being the Queen of Wands, which makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. Very fiery and confident. Knows who she is, you know. Seen some things. Had to grow along the way. Very, very cool. And finally, our figure from the Lovers, Motorcycle Man, is the King of Wands. He's very, very cool and very, very fiery, but he's learned how to control himself. He's ablaze right now, but he gives off the vibes that he keeps his crown and all things under his tight control. He knows what to do. Maybe he simply inspires others more than does himself, but yeah, King of Wands. And with that, I hope you guys, oh man, Tarts Tarot. It is one that I think, and I hope I see a lot more of in 2024. I hope a lot of people end up getting this deck. I'm going to just show you. It's pretty easy to shuffle because the cardstock isn't like a problem. It's bendy enough where I think people who riffle shuffle shouldn't have a problem riffle shuffling this. Like, it seems like it has a good bend and snap back. So, see? Pretty easy. So yeah, I love this deck. I am so excited to use this. I'm going to be transparent and say I'll probably be using this for sure in February. I know I want to use it in February, but beyond that, we'll see. But I am so excited for this one. And yeah, I just wanted to do a walkthrough because I know a couple of people actually... I know it was my fault. A couple of people actually bought this deck after seeing it on my channel. They told me that straight up, and I was like, oh shit. I've never thought I was that kind of person, but I got this deck, and I guess I helped inform somebody's choice. But if you are also considering this deck and just like how unique it is, I hope I swayed you today. Don't be afraid of the fact that it is a pips with feeling. As you saw, the pips, most of them, except for maybe like some of these swords and stuff, they're more profound than you think. And it's just a really fun, quirky, fantastical deck. And I'm just so glad I have it. And I finally pulled the trigger and I decided to get it. But if you enjoyed that, sorry it was so long, but thank you so much for watching. And I will see you again next time. Bye.